Thank you, Susan. Now, I was a delegate for the Catholic Church for the Pilgrimage of Justice and Peace, and in Karlsruhe I was an observatory. I was not a member, but I was just an observer. So, Monsignor Nigolini instead was member of the delegation, just to state things as they are. No. But aside from that, what is important is that, as we said this afternoon, now observers have a full right to speak, and so they're there not only to observe, but they can also intervene. And I can state that is true. I was the Catholic member that was added to others, and I could participate freely. So nobody. So I was considered as a full member by everybody. Nobody told me to not to take the floor because I was just an observer. So, for example, some delegations asked me to hold a short speech on the position of Pope Francis, and Pope Francis was already quoted by many others who in the previous day, so I was not, I didn't feel very at ease in talking about Pope Francis. But so that said, this pilgrimage was the way in which the Council of Churches has decided in 2013 the way in which it has decided to give this ecumenical path and to help the ecumenical movement, all of its players that Susan talked about it, the heart, the mind, the feet, all of them to move together. Susan was part of that pilgrimage of justice and peace. That is where we met, and I'm very glad that I was able to meet her there. So we visited in the various continents the local churches. So small groups that visited various realities, and then that held a common session where a debriefing was held. So Myanmar, Bangladesh, etc. So this allowed us to visit those places where there are greater wounds, and to witness the gifts that were provided by those churches, local churches, to the universal church, and then to try to fix, or to injustice wherever it was present. There were some thematic areas, some problems that were present everywhere. For example, the relationship between truth and trauma. Trauma that the church has experienced, the society and the people sometimes are made even worse when truth is hidden. Truth is covered. So, and sometimes the culprits are hidden, and that's the problem. And instead we try to promote those solutions that allowed these wounds to heal. And then the relationship, the very difficult relationship between the home country and the migrations, people who are obliged to go elsewhere due to many problems, to drought, to the raising of the seas, etc. So, of course, these climatic changes, etc., which cause or the migration of thousands and thousands, millions of people. And of course, this brings yet other problems. And then the injustice in terms of women. The women who suffer the most in many of these societies, or also racism, injustice connected to racism. India, north of Canada, everywhere. In Canada, social class are white, Asians, Asiatic, black, and then others. And there's a problem of racism. I have some problems. It's on and off, but okay. So this pilgrimage, with this pilgrimage, we were able to visit all continents. So in North America, one of the most important moments for us Christians were parts of churches which directly were involved in some injustices and some violence, both physical and moral. So this pilgrimage involved about 40, 50 people and allowed us to get in touch with realities that were very different, and then also to come up with some documents that try to teach how to work together. They led towards a theology of a companionship, for example, to help people who share the bread during their trip. So this had a very positive outcome in many churches. That's why in that assembly we decided that pilgrimage to continue by making the most out of the experience that it had gathered thus far. So Justice and Peace became a pilgrimage for justice, peace, reconciliation, and then also unity. So reconciliation and unity, which were present in the title of the assembly, were included in the pilgrimage. So on request of some churches, who said that they could not talk about reconciliation if no mention was made to justice. So we cannot invoke reconciliation as a blanket that covers everybody and that forgets what has happened and covers it up. No. So justice, the word justice, the theme justice had to remain there because it was important. And also there was another proposal that was made, another important theme, to focus on the healing and in taking care of the people who are wounded. Now, if I can add something, and Susan will, in what I just said, I hope that I did not make any mistakes, as Susan may correct me otherwise. So I would just like to say what it has meant for me as a Christian, as a Catholic, to be there, to take part in that pilgrimage. The Ecumenical Council of Churches has asked the dicastery to send a delegate for justice, etc. And that's how I was selected. So the Ecumenical Council for Churches appointed me, the Secretary General appointed me, and what did it mean for me? Well, first of all, that I was able to touch personally, to experience personally, something that I was becoming ever more aware in my path, i.e. the importance of the visible unity of Christians. Unfortunately, we have become accustomed to the fact that the things that divide us, the fact that the things that divide us are fewer than the ones that unite us. There are so many things that divide us, but the things that do keep us together, that unite us, are much larger. So by actually being involved with so many different churches, I would like to say that it is he who unites us that is greater. And then there is dogma, there are structures, there is the organization, etc. that follows. But I was able to understand that when you meet Christians in refugee camps in the north of Myanmar, and these camps are managed by the Catholic Church and by the Baptist Church together, you don't even think about the fact that there is no reciprocal recognition of the ministry between. I mean, that's not a problem at all, because the two churches are there to express that love for Christ that unites us in a way that is much more stronger than the things that divide us. So this is first thing that I wanted to say. Then the second one. Now for me, who came from Italy, it was very interesting to discover the churches of the south of the world. Those churches who received the gospel through the predication of the European churches, who received the gospel together with European culture, with the Western culture. So the predominant culture of the West brought the gospel together with all of its cultural baggage. And also, of course, it's the problem, colonialism, especially colonialism. And the attempt sometimes to steal resources from these people, to delete the cultures. North America, for example, kill the Indians and raise the child. This was the motto. So their children were raised as though they were Westerners. So when I went to Ethiopia, I met with a monk there, and he told me that in 1936 many Italians came and they slaughtered many people there, and that he had a relative from his family that was killed by us. So that was a lesson that was humbling, in my opinion, very humbling. The other fact that we're able to thank our Lord, because these churches, these Christians, have protected the gospel despite all those who tried to take it away from them. It is not to be taken for granted that a young church who has received recently the gospel in a way that is sometimes violent and which is not respect its culture does not throw it away as soon as they can, when the invaders or the colonialists go away. in fact, said no, they have kept it. They have kept the gospel, they have kept the dialogue with the Christians of the churches of those very countries that went there with guns. So for me, this is a lesson that we have to really learn from the gospel that is very, very important. It's an essential lesson, in my opinion. Now, this is not to say that those churches are more evangelical than others. Of course not. So, but that they do have something to teach to all of us, and that we have to treasure as a true gift. So this is part of those gifts that we have found when we, in that pilgrimage that we were talking about. So one last reference to the document, to the message from Karlsruhe, that says Christ makes all things new. And this is the theme of the Assembly of 1968. The latest, the previous assembly that was held in Europe, the latest that was held in that area. So that said, I believe that our local churches for example, in Palermo, in Lampedusa, and in Rome, these were one of the stretches and one of the some of the places where this pilgrimage was held, and then there's these select groups. We were hosted by all these church, Anglican Church, and we truly had the possibility of viewing and experiencing what they did there, what it means. For example, the dramatic event of migration means, or the sufferance of people who migrate, who are deprived of all rights of any sorts. So, by actually witnessing directly these realities and seeing how the Christians of different confessions all give testimony to the fact that the Lord moves things, that the Lord renews our churches, who in Europe perhaps were a bit tired, a bit old, and we're losing worshippers, power, etc. So, seeing churches that are a minority in society, that never held any type of power at all, but who narrate the gospel with the normality, with the sins of human beings, is a lesson that is very important for our churches of today and of tomorrow. So I'm very happy about that pilgrimage, and it's one of the things that has shocked me in Karlsruhe. One of the messages concerned Korea, the two Koreas, and the title was 70 years are too many, because so the division of Korean two, it's 70 years and it's too many. So maybe there will be others who will accompany the pilgrimage of the Catholic Church. However, that said, I would have to say that the Catholic Church indeed has or will continue to reap so many fruits from this common pilgrimage that we have carried out and will continue to carry out together. Thank you.